Hello, everyone. Welcome to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the June 30th show, and you're stuck with me as being the host. Liz couldn't make it today, but luckily we have Susan Rose with us and Michael Wilbur, so we're very happy to have them. And you know, the mission statement for the April 4th Coalition is that we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights, and we're against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but we draw emphasis on Article 23. And so, number one, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment.
Number two, everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number three, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for him or herself and his or her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection.
Michael, number four.
Number four, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his or her interests.
Well, we're right upon the end of June right now. We're headed towards the 4th of July. And in the news, there's so much that we could talk about. But because of our focus on workers' rights and collective bargaining rights, I thought, and I was explaining to Michael how, rather than being anti this, anti that, let's say something that we're for. And there was a Democratic primary election in New York City for mayor, which has ranked choice voting, meaning that you could vote, rank all the candidates and who you like the most, and from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then those votes are counted, and then after the original vote count, then those that don't make the top tier, they recount them and see who you voted for second, and that goes to the voters. So it gives you a chance, like you might like one person, but the other person's good, so you want to make your choices. That way you could, even though he's your second choice or she's your second choice, they might end up winning because you rank them second when they go through the ranked choice voting. But I don't want to explain too much about it, but essentially in this election in New York City, there was one candidate that the United Auto Workers, the UAW, picked out and said, this is our candidate. There were a couple of them that they liked, but, Zoran Mandani, one thing, 33 years old. 33 years old. That's one thing. Also, he's a Muslim.
Yes.
He's an immigrant. His parents came to this country when he was very young. But he was on the city council, then he became a state assembly person, which is the same as a state legislature. State legislature. So he's been in politics in New York for a while. But right now, let's listen to what the UAW said about ranking him first of all the candidates that were running.
Zoran is the UAW candidate.
When me and my coworkers at Strand went on strike last year, Zoran was with us on the picket line from day one. We won the best contract we've ever gotten. We won raises for all of our workers to help them afford to live in the city. I don't think we could have done it without Zoran.
I endorse Zoran because he was on the picket line with my siblings from Mercedes-Benz when they were most at need.
Zoran's been to a lot of our picket lines. I can't even pick one to tell you about. At this point, he's just ubiquitous. Andrew Cuomo's been on fewer picket lines than J.D. Vance, I hear. We've seen what he can do, and it's not good.
Zoran was on a hunger strike with the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. When we were on strike at MFJ Legal Services, he came out and he supported our strike. He supports workers, and I support his platform.
New York, what are you waiting for? Zoran is the candidate New York City deserves.
Vision, excitement, a new beginning for our city. Rank Zoran Mandani first. Fill out your whole ballot and don't rank Cuomo.
UAW in the house!
So the UAW took a stand because he took a stand with them. He stood with workers. He took a stand with taxi drivers.
Yeah.
who were suffering high suicide rates because of the enormous debt that they had, being undercut by Uber, which was non-union.
I remember that.
So, but let's see, there's another ad. This is almost 3 minutes long. It says it's time to elect Zoran.
In New York City, the UAW takes on some of the richest employers in the country. Employers like Mercedes-Benz, Columbia University, NYU, Mount Sinai, and Sony. So we know a thing or two about how bosses act. They view the workplace like a dictatorship. The corporate class expects to be treated like kings. They want us silent, obedient, disposable. They expect workers to sit down and shut up. That's not just how they run their workplaces, it's how they want to run our country. That's exactly how Andrew Cuomo ran New York when he was governor. He bullied and harassed workers. He cut Medicaid in the middle of a pandemic. And when striking UAW members needed his support on the picket line, he was nowhere to be found. Those days are over because across New York City, the working class is rising up. We are demanding higher wages, health care for all, a secure retirement, a home we can afford. Because here's the secret truth that the billionaire class doesn't want us to know. We are the majority. And when we stand up, nobody can stand in our way. We don't need another hack politician like Cuomo, someone who smiles for the cameras and then sells us out behind closed doors. What we need is a national movement that unites the working class to take on the oligarchs and rebuild our democracy. And that is exactly the kind of movement that Zoran Mamdani is leading. Zoran isn't owned by Wall Street. He's a fighter for free transit, housing for all, universal child care, and a $30 an hour minimum wage. He believes in democracy, not just in city elections, but on the job, in our apartment buildings, and in our neighborhoods. This campaign isn't just about winning an election. It's about taking back our power from the bosses, from the landlords, from the billionaires who think they own our future. We've had enough of the Cuomos of the world. It's time to fight. And the UAW is proud to be the first union to endorse Zoran Mamdani. Now it's time to elect Zoran and build a New York for the many, not the few. Because when the working class stands up, no one can stop us.
It seems like, excuse me, what it seems like is Zoran, he's for the people. And it's not like what's going on right now, but I really appreciate what this man is doing. And besides that, he's kind of handsome.
Well, what he,
Joke.
well, what he did is, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, I listen to a lot of people talk, you know, but they said he's revolutionized campaigning. He has revolutionized campaigning, things that he's done no one's done before. And I think a lot of it has to do with his age, that he's dealt with phones and what goes on and what young people deal with. In his words was, you know, instead of being a politician that goes out and says, this is what I'm going to do for you, after the last election when Trump was elected, he went to the neighborhoods in New York that were Democratic neighborhoods and went and talked to the people, videotaped them, asked them, who did you vote for? And they said, well, I voted for Trump. Why did you vote for Trump? The cost of living's too high. And what would you do if a Democratic candidate, you know, came out for this? Oh, I'd vote for him. What things do you need? Well, it's cost too much for rent. It costs. So he said, well, I'm going to make my candidacy what they did. So what he did January 1st, when he was announcing his candidacy in a three-piece suit, he jumped in the ocean while it was freezing. He goes, this is what I'm going to do to your rents. I'm going to freeze it, just like I'm going to freeze jumping into the ocean. He made all these really neat, small videos that people could watch.
didn't see that.
Here's a 12-minute video, though, about how the UAW how UAW members and people can help Zoran Mondani get elected. Let's watch.
Hey UAW Region 9A, I want to congratulate us all on an incredible victory on Tuesday night. Our 20,000 New York City UAW members got to work during this campaign. We knocked on doors, we phone banked, we talked to our coworkers, our neighbors, our families, as well as complete strangers. And because of all that time, energy, and effort that we put in, we can now say that Zoran Mondani will be the Democratic nominee for mayor. I want to take a few minutes today to reflect on what we just accomplished and what's coming next. First, let's remember how this all got started. Back in October of last year, even before the election of Donald Trump in November, we knew the New York City mayor race was going to be a real chance to build a different kind of politics. When Trump won, our task became all the more urgent. We as a region had led labor in multiple letters against the Eric Adams administration, and as the corruption scandals and indictments broke, we knew that 4 more years of Adams meant more of the same politics of corruption that we needed to get past. We had an opportunity to put forward a different vision. We involved hundreds of members to think about an alternative. That vision came to fruition with a politics, as Zoran has said, built on hope. In other words, a politics that puts our issues as working people first. Costs of living, housing, childcare, and transportation. To build this politics, we need a mayor that knew what side they were on. We need new elected leaders who are not afraid to pick a side. Politicians who will put workers over corporate donors every single time. The status quo, led by Democrats and Republicans alike, has not delivered for working class people. No one has had a solution, and few have even had any interest on stopping the race to the bottom. When President Shawn Fain and I took office, we were clear that UAW endorsements would be earned, and we were done backing politicians that wouldn't support labor. Our endorsement needed to mean something. As members, we do the work. We take on the boss, we march on picket lines, and we organize our coworkers. But over and over again, we see politicians undermine us the first chance they get in the legislative halls of power. So as members, we came to the conclusion that we needed a mayor that did 2 things. Number 1, someone who showed up for the UAW, the labor movement, and workers when we need them. And number 2, someone who would run on a pro-worker agenda that addressed our cost of living crisis. Through our historic democratic member-led process, our New York City CAP Council vetted the candidates, we held forums open to all members, and then every local we represent in the city voted on our strategy. At first, the result of this process was an unranked slate. This meant that in December of last year, we became proudly the first union to endorse Zoran Mondani. No other labor union endorsed Zoran until April of this year. We also embraced ranked choice voting as a strategy. UAW members believed that embracing ranked choice voting in this election was necessary to defeat both Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo. UAW endorsed Zoran alongside Brad Lander and another candidate at the time, and we educated our membership about the importance of ranked choice voting as a strategy. We also launched DREAM, an explicit instruction to not rank Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo. Once Eric Adams dropped out of the primary, we made it clear that we still needed to keep Cuomo off of our ballots. We led the way in fighting Andrew Cuomo's false narrative that he had earned union members' support. The UAW, Regions 9A and 9 together, knew from our experience why Cuomo could not be trusted in City Hall. UAW leaders from General Motors plants in Western and Central New York joined UAW Region 9A members Zoran Mondani and Brad Lander at a press conference in late May to explain how Andrew Cuomo, as governor, failed to support UAW members in times of need. He never stood on our picket lines, and he ignored our calls, and he abandoned us when we needed his help legislatively to support striking workers. It is because of Democrats like Andrew Cuomo, someone who tells you one thing in front of the cameras and then stabs you in the back, that today an anti-union president like Trump sits in the White House. When the UAW endorsed Zoran, he was only polling at 2%. In May, the UAW became the largest union in the city to rank Zoran Mamdani as our #1 candidate. The decision to rank Zoran first affirmed our membership's initial endorsement of his campaign. Some said we took a chance on a candidate with no shot, but we responded that the actual reckless gamble in this election was to endorse status quo candidates that caused the crisis working families face in the first place. So why did we endorse Zoran, given the odds? It's easy. It's what you, our members, demanded, and then you backed it up. Zoran, through his time in the State Assembly, was our champion. Region 9A represents 20,000 members across New York City and across 7 different locals in sectors like higher education, auto dealerships, legal services, nonprofits, museums, movie theaters, and manufacturing. Since he was elected to the State Assembly, Zoran has shown up for all of our New York City locals at nearly every UAW rally and picket line in the city. He's shown up repeatedly for Local 2325 ALAA throughout their sectoral bargaining fight. In December of last year, Zoran walked the picket line with Local 2179 members on strike at the Strand bookstore in their historic win. That same month, Zoran rallied with Local 259 members fighting unfair labor practices at Mercedes-Benz Manhattan. In November, Zoran stood with members beginning negotiations at NYU with Contract Faculty United. In May 2024, Zoran walked the picket line with Local 2320 members on strike at Mobilization for Justice. In December of 2023, Zoran stood with Local 4100 members on strike at Mount Sinai, which resulted in a precedent-setting contract for postdoc researchers in the country. Even as far back as 2021, Zoran joined our picket line at Columbia University with Local 2710 members. We knew that his message and platform would resonate if we organized, if we talked to voters and talked about the issues that mattered to them most. Working class people were done with the status quo. They wanted new ideas and new leadership that would be honest with them. We also want leaders that are willing to fight and not cede control to Washington and allow unconstitutional raids on our immigrant communities and illegal attacks on our civil liberties and the funding that keeps our jobs going. But we knew putting our name to an endorsement wasn't enough. If we treated this mayoral campaign like an organizing drive, something we're really good at in Region 9A, we had a shot to win and shock the world. So as a union, we led canvassing efforts with Zoran's campaign. It started with a UAW for Zoran kickoff canvass and a rally in the South Bronx. This canvass meant talking to our neighbors in rent-stabilized apartments, largely Spanish-speaking voters who for the most part had still not heard about Zoran. Because of efforts like this, in the poll immediately prior to that canvass, Zoran was down 39-16 amongst Latino voters. But in the most recent poll before the election, Zoran had gained ground and led amongst all Latino voters. Organizing made a difference. Since then, UAW members have completed over 1,000 volunteer shifts in their personal capacity for Zoran's campaign. Additionally, our member-to-member coordinated campaign was far and away the largest volunteer drive of any union. We plugged our members in and they responded. The excitement was so high, we had members come in from across 9A to support, from Massachusetts to Connecticut and Rhode Island. I want to thank all of you who came in from across the region to support Zoran and our UAW members in New York City. Our UAW's for Zoran t-shirt became omnipresent across the city. On election day, we had workers from other unions stop our members outside of poll sites thanking us for endorsing Zoran, for setting an example, and they ecstatically said that they were voting for him, oftentimes against their union's own endorsement. Now our attention needs to shift to the November general election. We know that the billionaires and the political establishment is not going to let Zoran just walk into the mayor's office without a fight. We don't know yet what they'll specifically do, but you should know that this election isn't over. We can't rest until November. So what are we going to do over the next 5 months? As a union, we are going to keep fighting for our future. We are going to keep organizing, we are going to keep taking on contract fights, and we are going to continue to make it clear to our bosses that we mean business, and we are not afraid to strike if necessary. We're also going to work with our fellow unions and bring them in with us in support of Zoran's pro-worker agenda and campaign. We are going to keep the campaign alive to make sure that Zoran Mamdani is the next mayor of New York City. Before I end, I want to recognize the tremendous leadership of Brad Lander. Brad was number 2 on our ballot, and we were also proud to endorse him alongside Zoran. We were clear with both Zoran and Brad at the beginning that we wanted them to run against Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams and not against each other. We expected a cross-endorsement, and we wanted them to show the city what a politics of collaboration and friendship across and sometimes despite our differences would look like. And both of these guys rose to the occasion. Brad Lander has always had the UAW's back. He's also been to all of our picket lines and used his power in the city council and the comptroller's office to pressure the bosses to bargain in good faith with us. Brad believes in worker power and he supports organizing. So we will continue to have his back. Thank you, Brad, for setting the example. You're the real deal. 9A, we have the chance to have a mayor that will walk the picket line with us, who will fight for the funding to ensure that we have fast and free buses, universal childcare, someone who will make sure that our publicly funded jobs have what they need so that UAW members can continue to build a life in New York City. So next year, when you're walking on the picket line, when you're submitting that petition to win your union election, when your boss is trying to retaliate against you or threaten mass layoffs, we will know that we have a mayor that has our back, a mayor who will fight for us and walk alongside us. UAW members, it's time to imagine how we build a different kind of city, one where we can win economic justice for all working people.
One thing that I like is that Zoran is fighting for a living wage, $30 an hour. I think that's fair. I mean, you can't live without, I mean, $7 an hour is the minimum wage. I mean, that is ridiculous.
The federal.
30, I meant federal. Yeah, $30 an hour is a living wage.
Yeah. Michael, anything?
Just think about it. You want enough pay raises and different items to support the workers and they keep up with that inflation.
Right. We should,
We're trying to survive sometimes.
right. We should be supporting politicians that support us. We want economic justice. And I just have to say the courage of that young man, 33 years old, because, you know, since he's become a national celebrity right now.
Yeah.
He's had death threats. You can't even count the amount of death threats. He had people in Washington calling for his deportation. They want to deport him. It's just awful what he's standing up for and the things that he's putting his family. But I wanted to, you know, I hope Stephen Colbert can forgive us, but we have a 3-minute clip where he and Controller Landers were on the Stephen Colbert show. Let's just show 3.5 minutes of what they said on the Stephen Colbert show.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guests tonight are two candidates who want to be the next mayor of New York. Please welcome New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani and New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. I'm just doing what I can. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here. Each of you are running to be mayor of New York. And to be clear, I am not endorsing either one of you.
I'm out of
okay? In fact, so much so that you guys are going to switch seats a little bit later in this interview.
All right.
But you're endorsing each other. How does that work? Why is this, for each of you, question, why is this your number 2 guy?
Well, we both agree, for starters, that corrupt, abusive Andrew Cuomo should not be allowed anywhere near City Hall. And we know that by teaming up, a majority of New Yorkers won't choose him. At the same time, we have a positive vision. You know, when I first met Zoran, he was leading an effort to help taxi drivers who were under crushing debt, like several had committed suicide because medallion holders were crushing them with excess debt. So he led a hunger strike, teamed up with people, and designed a $450 million debt relief program. And has now built on that with a vision for a city that all New Yorkers can afford, whoever they are. And I find it inspiring. And so I hope folks will rank me number 1 on their ballot and rank Zoran number 2.
Mr. Mamdani.
And I think, you know, Brad has been a principled and progressive leader in this city for years. So many of the laws that we celebrate in this city are ones that he actually brought to bear. And I'm talking about someone who founded the Progressive Caucus in the city council. And it's exciting to know that while each of us think that we will make the next best mayor of New York City, we also understand that it's time for a politics of the future. And that means a politics of collaboration, a politics of sincerity, a politics of principle. And
well, this race in general, Governor Cuomo being in the race, you guys and the other candidates, this has made national news. You both have been interviewed on the national news networks. Your opponent, Andrew Cuomo, has been recently endorsed by Representative Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, the guy who, you know, basically clinched it for Biden in 2020. Why do you think this particular race has become a countrywide story?
I think in some ways because it's a referendum on where our party goes. What we're talking about is a race that has now seen the most funded super PAC in New York City's municipal history. A race that is, you know, one that billionaires and corporations want to buy. And this is a tale that we're seeing across this country, where it's a battle of organized money versus organized people. And ultimately, it's a question for our own party of how do we move forward? Do we move forward with the same politicians of the past, the same policies of the past that delivered us this present, or do we move forward with a new generation of leadership, one that is actually looking to serve the people?
Well, despite this being
Yeah, that's just a little tease. You can go on YouTube and watch the entire 21 minutes of the extended interview, and it'd be very informative. I mean, that Brad Lander, he became nationally famous because he accompanied an immigrant to court and was arrested himself and put in handcuffs and taken to jail just because he was walking with an immigrant while they were going to court. They said he was obstructing Trump's, what are they called, Gestapo? No, what do they call immigration? ICE, yeah, the ICE people, you know, that it's horrible what's happening, yeah. But he took the courage to stand up. So, you know, what we're asking, and what the question they asked, we're asking for economic justice, and we've got to fight the fight, because there's organized money, but we have to stand for organized people. So we have organized the people, power to the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
We got it going.
Mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War's always been the bosses' way, sir. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black label workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters in many far off lands.